can't be just entirely manipulative. It has to be one of those really sort of psychologically abusive and toxic, but also really complicated, conflicting relationships.
I wonder what they filled did they fill your props with anything that actually smelled really good for the odor elimination?
Yeah. My pomander. Yeah. No, I mean, they were, as you'd expect on a show like this, like they were so thorough and detailed. And I mean, I have a scene in a later episode. I don't think it's in episode 4. I haven't seen it yet, but when I fill the pomander with all the different spices, and I mean, it was unbelievable, the ornate intricacies of the apparatus, the different spices and herbs. And I mean, like a pestle and mortar, I was crushing it all up. It was insane. Like, yeah. And I don't think the audience even see what's in front of me, but like, that's real testament to this show, how detailed and kind of how far those different departments go. In terms of the actual thing, every day it was sprayed with lavender oil. So every time I'm smelling it, I'm smelling beautiful lavender aromas. Again, a detail which no one will see, no one will smell, but I was there every day benefiting from it. So yeah, it was cool. It was a very important part for the character, and one of the very first things I remember when I read the scripts, thinking how it's a small detail but speaks volumes.
Keen attention to detail for a very particular guy. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and just like all the OCD and all the like hyper aware, the intolerance to smells, like that kind of the control which he applies to everything. His image, his clothes, the smell, what he eats. You know, he's like one of those high functioning type A individuals. But if that control is thwarted in some way, will break loose, and that's kind of what happens. So yeah, the smell is a symptom of a bigger pathology, I guess.
I wonder, does Ormund see Daeron as his son?
Interesting question. I think so, yeah. I mean, I think there's not much said about Ormund in the books. We know enough about him. We know that he had a wife. There was a family in Old Town. But I do think that Daeron is the most important person in his life at this point. I mean, obviously, this has been a plan for some time. And the way that they relate to one another. One of the things which was really important to me from the very first conversation I had with Ryan, I remember having a coffee with him in London, and I was like, having read a couple of scripts, and I remember saying that this relationship has to have love, has to be full of affection. It can't be just entirely manipulative. It has to be one of those really sort of psychologically abusive and toxic, but also really complicated, conflicting relationships, because Daeron's too bright and too competent to just suffer at the hands of an abuser. I mean, some of the most important and exciting scenes were when I was able to clasp him on his shoulders and tell him how proud I was of him. And I had Ben, who's such a wonderful young actor, and he was looking at me with these misty eyes, full of gratitude and love. And how, I think it was the moment I'm talking about is when he runs the young man, kills a man, murders him in cold blood kills someone for the first time. And afterwards, Ormund tells him how much he loves him for it and how proud he is. And the reaction I had from this boy is like, thank you. And all he wants is to be loved. Because also, he doesn't have a father figure in Old Town. Ormund is his father. So yes, I think it is father-son, and it is also abuser, prisoner. It's Stockholm syndrome. It's all sorts of stuff going on in that relationship, which is why it was so exciting to explore.
Those who might not understand, why does Ormund think that the Hightowers are superior to Targaryens and that dragons are like these foul beings?
Ormund is a sort of, I guess the comparable or the way to describe him is like a zealot or a religious fanaticist. Like he's sort of fascistic in his view of the superiority of the Hightowers. I mean, he's like he like it's down to almost like eugenics. He believes that they are. He says to Daeron, he says, "Your blood is tainted," and he sees the Targaryens. He sees the dragons and their riders as savages, and it is a crime to the Iron Throne that they should be sitting there. It's a what's the word? I can't remember the word I'm thinking, but anyway, yes. We talked and I spoke a lot about and sort of used that type of religious fanaticism as as a kind of inspiration for Ormond. You know, that very binary way of thinking where there is no nuance in the conversation, which is also why his relationship with Daeron is so interesting, because the savage and the Hightower coexist in this one boy, which is the future hope for his kin, his lineage, and yet he represents both. And so you would expect Ormond to have had a more nuanced sort of approach to Daeron's the coexisting of these two families, but he doesn't. He's just like, that part of you is tainted, that part of you is savage, we just ignore it. Which, yeah. But I think the way to think of him in that regard is a sort of fanaticist, a religious, a zealot.
Yeah, you could almost believe that he would like want to dye Daeron's hair, even if he didn't need to make a body double for him, right? Like he's like, I don't want to look at you as a Targaryen. I want to see you as a Hightower. But does he look down on Alicent and on Otto for their connection to Targaryens, even though it put them on the Iron Throne?
I think without a doubt, yeah. I think it's as you say, there's a contradiction there, because obviously it allows for that direct. He's using their involvement and their previous relationships with the Targaryens in order to legitimize Daeron's claim. But at the same time, I think, unfortunately, we don't get to see Ormond and Otto and that conversation. But we had conversations around his attitudes towards Alicent and Otto, and I think you're almost certainly right. Like there is. Because he's going back to the fanaticism, the purist that he is. There is no one who is more committed to the Hightower name and lineage than Ormond, and so anyone who's kind of inhabiting, marrying, the cross-pollination is a crime to him. So I think, yes, almost certainly. We don't see it, but we can assume that there is judgment there for sure.
Grantchester is ending. I wonder how you feel about the show coming to an end. And I wonder, too, if there was ever any talks of you potentially coming in for the final season. I know that was not the case, but was there any interest there?
I've stayed friends with the team, Daisy, who writes the show, and Emma, who's producing it. And obviously Robson is a dear friend. So I have stayed close to it. There was a really lovely moment when they were going on. They were all in a restaurant for their final meal before the final wrap party of the final series. So it was a very moving moment for them. And coincidentally, I just happened to be in the same restaurant. It was so weird. I was in the corner of the room and I heard these voices. I'm like, they sound familiar voices. No, that's right. I walked in and then I heard people going, James. And I thought, oh God, who's that? Turned around and it was Robson, it was Tess, it was Al, it was my people having a meal to say goodbye to the show. It was one of those spooky moments where we were all a bit like, this is weird. So anyway, I sat down with him, I ate. It was so nice. I went to the wrap party. That was after the event, and as you know, I'm not in the final series. There was a question at one point. I think Emma did say, "Do you want to come back?" But I think it was just too much, unfortunately. But end of an era, a big era for all of us. That's
a crazy coincidence. I can't believe you just happened to be in the same restaurant.
Isn't that weird? It was spooky.
Yeah,
it was spooky. Right place, right time. I didn't even know the wrap party was going on. And then I was going to the theatre. So I went to the theatre, and then after the show came down, I went to the party. And it was lovely because we had all the vicars, all three of us rather, and Robson. Took some photos. Yeah, it was really lovely. It was kind of eerie, but lovely.
It was meant to be, clearly. Yeah.
There you go.